to the grinding attrition of the 10,000 meters, the distance events have provided a rich variety of experience for both athlete and spectator on the road to Olympic glory. Between these two extremes lies a battlefield of self-belief, tactical skill, and pure athletic ability that has produced some of the greatest names in Olympic history. From 1896 until 1912, the only distance races to be run on the track were the men's 800 and 1500 meters. Teddy Flack of Australia won both events in Athens. That feat was repeated in 1904 by the American James Lightbody, and in 1908 by fellow countryman Melvin Shepherd. In 1912, two longer distance races, the 5,000 and 10,000 meters, were added to the program, and one of the most prolific dynasties in Olympic history took its first steps on the road to glory. Having won the inaugural 10,000 meters, in which only 5 of 11 starters finished, 22-year-old Hannes Kolemainen, vegetarian bricklayer from Finland, fought out a thrilling 5,000-meter duel with the Frenchman Jean Bouin. Kolemainen won by a yard. Both Bouin and the bronze medalist George Hudson would be killed in the Great War. Having secured 2 gold medals, Kolemainen attempted to win a third in the cross-country event. Kolemainen finished ahead of his Swedish rival Hjalmar Andersson to take the individual title. The Swedes won the team event. In 1920, Antwerp was awarded the first games after the Great War. Hannes Kolemainen was by now 30 years old. He returned to Europe from the United States, where he had emigrated, to take part in the Olympic marathon. After 27 kilometers, Kolemainen pulled away. Only Estonia's Jüri Lossman was able to stay with him. As they entered the stadium, Lossman was gaining ground, but the Finn held on to win by 70 yards, the closest finish in Olympic marathon history. That marked the end of Hannes Kolemainen's Olympic career. But Finland's domination of distance running was to be continued by one of the most extraordinary athletes in Olympic history. At the same Antwerp Games, Paavo Nurmi's first final, the 5,000 meters, ended in disappointment. He was beaten into the silver medal position by the Frenchman Joseph Guimau. Guimau enjoyed the congratulations of the crowd and the King of Belgium, though he would later have cause to regret the royal interest in distance running. 3 days later, Nurmi and Guimau again came face to face in the 10,000 meters. At the last minute, the final had been brought forward by 3 hours at the request of the King of Belgium. Unfortunately, Guimau had just finished his lunch, and at the end of the race, he was sick, all over Nurmi, who had had the temerity to beat him to the gold medal. With Nurmi and Guimau having won 1 gold medal each, their confrontation in the cross-country race was keenly anticipated. But it was Nurmi and Sweden's Erik Backman who contested the title. Guimau stepped into a hole 3 kilometers from the finish and had to retire injured. Nurmi led Finland to the team and individual gold medals. Four years later in Paris, Nurmi carved his place in Olympic legend. In the 1,500 meters, he cruised to victory in an Olympic record time of 3 minutes, 53.6 seconds. Unfortunately for Nurmi, the final of the 5,000 meters took place less than an hour later. The rest of the field, hoping to capitalize on his exertions in the 1,500 meters, set a blistering pace. With 500 meters to go, Nurmi threw away the stopwatch that he always carried during the races and held off the challenge of his fellow countryman and great rival, Vila Ritola. Nurmi was prevented from entering the 10,000 meters by Finland's officials, leaving Ritola to take the title. Finland's domination of the distance events was completed when Nurmi and Ritola took gold and silver in the cross-country. In the marathon, many competitors stopped for a glass of wine. Out of 58 starters, only 28 finished, as Albin Stenroos added another gold medal to Finland's haul. They had won every race, from 1,500 meters to the marathon. 4 years later in Amsterdam, Finland could only take bronze in the marathon, as Marti Martalin finished behind Chile's Miguel Plaza and the Algerian-born Boukhera Alouafi, who ran for France. But that was to be Finland's only disappointment, though Nurmi caught a disaster when he fell into the water jump during a heat of the 3,000-meter steeplechase. By the time Nurmi lined up for the steeplechase final, Harry Lava had already won the 1,500 meters, Ritola the 5,000 meters, and Nurmi himself the 10,000. He was now aiming for his 10th Olympic gold medal. Perhaps exhausted from his 5,000-meter duel with Ritola the day before, Nurmi was unable to stay with the winner, compatriot Tovo Lukola. Nurmi's silver medal would prove to be his last on the Olympic track. Nurmi intended running in the 10,000 meters and the marathon in 1932, but he was suspended from competition 1 week before the Games for accepting payments. But even that was not the end of Paavo Nurmi's love affair with the Olympic Games. When the final torchbearer appeared in Helsinki in 1952, the stadium erupted. At the age of 55, Finland's hero had returned to the greatest sporting arena for the last time. Paavo Nurmi's Olympic career was finally over. But Nurmi's retirement from the Olympic track did little to slow the conveyor belt of Finland's running talent. In 1932, though, the 10,000-meter title was taken by the Polish runner Janusz Kuzocinski. The 5,000 meters provided one of the most controversial races of the 1932 Games. On the final straight, Finland's Lori Lehtinen swerved from lane to lane, impeding the home favorite Ralph Hill. The American crowd were incensed, but the US team decided not to lodge a protest, and Lehtinen kept his gold medal. The last Games before the war, held in Berlin, were dominated by the American sprinter Jesse Owens. (1936) also marked the end of the golden era of Finland's distance running. Gunnar Hockert won the 5,000 meters, while Ilmari Salminen led a Finnish sweep of the medals in the 10,000 meters. Of the 12 finals at 5 and 10,000 meters contested between 1912 and 1936, Finland had won 10. But it would be another 36 years before the Blue Cross flew above the winner's podium in the distance races. At the 1972 Munich Games, a 23-year-old Finnish policeman rekindled memories of Kolemainen, Ritola and Nurmi. In the final of the 10,000 meters, Lassi Viren fell halfway through the race, bringing the great Tunisian runner Mohamed Gamoudi crashing down with him. Remarkably, Viren got up to win the gold medal and break Ron Clark's 7-year-old world record. In the 5,000 meters, Viren took his second gold medal of the Games, joining Hannes Kolemainen, Emil Zatopek and Vladimir Kutz as the only 5,000, 10,000 meter double winners. Four years later, Viren was in Montreal to defend both of his titles. He won the 10,000 meters ahead of Portugal's Carlos Lopez. In the 5,000 meters, the leading six runners were bunched together at the bell. Viren proved to be the fastest finisher, taking gold just ahead of New Zealand's Dick Quacks. He had become the only repeat winner of the 5,000, 10,000 meter double. Apart from Pekka Vasala, who won the 1,500 meters in 1972, Lasse Viren is the only Finn to make his mark on the Olympic track in the post-war period. And for the moment, Finland's tradition of distance running is awaiting its next hero.